Ladies and gentlemen, I'm calling to order the North Ridgeville City Council meeting. Today is Monday, November 6, 2023. Please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, we give you thanks for the democracy alive in our country and for the freedoms that we enjoy. We thank you for the privilege of voting, as it is our opportunity to influence the direction of our city, state, and country. We pray that those who will be voting tomorrow have sought to better understand the issues that face them and their communities, and that they will exercise discernment in making their choices. We ask that elected government and all people in positions of power and authority govern wisely and for the common good of all. We pray these in your name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call the roll.
Swank.
Here.
Toth. Here. Avens.
Here.
Winkle.
Here.
Awig.
Here.
DeVries.
Here.
Jacobs.
Here.
Mr. Mayor. Law Director.
Here.
Engineer.
Here.
Finance Director.
Here.
Clerk of Council. Here.
Tonight, under the approval of minutes, we have the City Council meeting minutes dated October 16th, 2023. Are there any changes or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Please note that Council's also received the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting minutes dated September 27th, 2023, the Building and Lands Committee meeting minutes dated October 16th, 2023, the Board of Zoning and Building Appeals meeting minutes dated October 26th, 2023, and the Finance Committee budget meeting minutes dated November 14th, November 16th, and November 17th, 2022. In a moment, I will open the lobby session. As a reminder to those here in council chambers, the lobby session, in the interest of time, is not meant to be an interactive question and answer period, but it is an opportunity for the public to address both city council as well as the administration. We do ask that anybody who wishes to address council this evening speaks from the podium. We ask that you begin by stating your name and address for the record, at which time your 3 minutes will begin, at which time you can speak regarding any matter related to the business of City Council or the general affairs of the City of North Ridgeville. So with that said, I will open the lobby session. I do have one written submission, which we will take first, and that is Mr. Gary Chopczynski. Again, Mr. Chopczynski, if you could state your name and address for the record, and your 3 minutes will begin.
My name is Gary Chopczynski. I live at 33699 Groudon Drive, beautiful North Ridgeville, Ohio. I have 2 points of interest today. One is I invite everybody to vote if they haven't already voted. Please vote. It is our right. And as Mr. Jacobs has mentioned, we will do this anyhow. The second order is we're in a blood shortage and platelet shortage, so please, if you can open up your arms, literally, and donate blood or platelets, it would be much appreciated. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Chopczynski. I don't have any other written submissions. Is there anybody else in attendance who would like to speak this evening? Please state your name and address.
Tara Rose, 200 Public Square, Suite 2800, Cleveland, Ohio, 44114. Good evening, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, and members of council. My name is Tara Rose. I'm an attorney at the Law Office of Hahn, Lozier, and Parks. I'm here today on behalf of property owner North Ridgeville Technology Group, and I have client representative Rita Scott here with me as well. We're here today to respectfully request that this council dispense with the third reading of Resolution T111 and pass it at tonight's meeting. As outlined in the resolution itself, this is an amendment to an existing CRA agreement. The purpose of the amendment is simply to update the name of the property owner and to include the potential purchaser of the operating entity, again solely for reporting purposes. To be clear, there are no material changes to the amendment. There is no change in the tax incentive, the tax burden, or any other material terms in that agreement. Simply put, we need this amendment to be passed so that we can close on our business transaction. I understand there were some current concerns made about a lot next to the property. My client no longer owns that property, but we did make some phone calls, and my understanding is that it has been remediated. As such, I again respectfully request that council dispense with the third reading of Resolution T111 and pass it at tonight's meeting so that we can close on our business transaction and so that the members of the community can continue to receive high-quality childcare at this location. And we're here to answer any questions council may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else in attendance this evening who would like to address council? All right, seeing none, the lobby session is now closed. We move on to administrative reports. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. We have several items on the agenda this evening that I'll be asking for the emergency clause on, and due to the number of them, I will wait until they are read to talk about each and every one of them. Tomorrow, as noted, is Election Day, and polls are open from 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. There are many decisions to be made, but here locally, we have the election of city and school officials, as well as a bond issue to construct a much-needed new high school. I encourage everyone to get out and vote, and if you're needing any other information about candidates, there is the Board of Elections website and our own website that hosts a bunch of information. This week, on Friday, City Hall offices will be closed in observance of Veterans Day, which is on Saturday, November 11th, but the observed day is Friday the 10th. And I'd like to thank each and every man and woman who have served in the U.S. Armed Forces. We have a holiday food and toy drive underway that is to benefit North Ridgeville Community Care. We do this each and every year. Non-perishable food items and new toys in original packaging can be dropped off at City Hall, the Park and Rec Department, and the Senior Center through December 1st. We have another edition of Coffee and Conversation coming up on Monday, November 13th from 8:30 to 9:30 here in Council Chambers, and it is always a good time. And at this point, I'd like to suspend the bylaws and introduce T119 to be placed on, T123 to be placed on first readings.
Do we have a second?
Second.
The motion was made by the mayor and seconded by Abens to suspend the bylaws and add T123 to tonight's agenda under first readings. Clerk, please call the roll.
Swink,
Yes.
Toth,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
The motion carries 7-0. To place it on the
T123 will be added under first readings. Mr. Mayor?
That concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Engineer?
Thank you, Mr. President. Traffic paint striping, the full-depth concrete pavement replacement, and the catch basin repair projects are all substantially complete. The engineering department continues to persuade property owners to get into compliance with the EPA backflow program. Any questions regarding this program can be directed to our office. If you haven't had the opportunity to drive by the police station lately, I would encourage you to do so. They installed the parking lot last week, and most of the vertical elements are up, and they're working on the architectural features now. I did want to add, in regards to T117 2023, engineering is requesting additional funds to cover coordination and design efforts above and beyond those that have already been done relating to utility conflicts and environmental requests, including the potential for a BATNet survey. Also, we have enlisted the help of a landscape architect to provide a review and feedback of the proposed plans as it relates to amenities such as restroom facilities, landscaping, fencing, cameras, pavilion, picnic tables, and such things. Even if we can't afford to address these items initially, I think it's important to at least plan for these amenities in the future. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Ms. Engineer. Ms. Finance Director?
Thank you, Council President. Tonight before Council is T120, a resolution authorizing a fund transfer from the general fund to the DUI Task Force grant. The DUI Task Force grant is a reimbursable grant through the state of Ohio. To ensure participating agencies can be paid timely while we request reimbursement from the state, I'd like to ask Council to consider adopting this legislation tonight with the emergency clause added so that we can process our payments to our participating agencies timely. Also before council tonight is T-121, a resolution executing then and now certificates by the fiscal officer. The expenses outlined in Exhibit A were budgeted and approved by council prior to the ordering of materials and services. These invoices are now due. In an effort to ensure vendors receive payment promptly, I'd like to ask council to consider adopting this legislation tonight as well with the emergency clause so that we can get these invoices paid. Lastly, before council tonight is T-122, an ordinance amending 2023 appropriations. In advance of this meeting, I sent council members a memorandum detailing each item included in this amendment. Again, I'd like to ask council to consider adopting this legislation tonight with the emergency clause to provide each department included the necessary financial resources to meet the city's financial obligations. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Finance Director. Please note that the Director of Finance has also provided council with a September 2023 financial report. Council is also in receipt of the September 2023 Parks and Recreation Division Report, the October 2023 Building Division Report, as well as the October 2023 Fire Department Report. We do have a council committee report this evening. Clerk, please read the Building and Lands Committee report.
Building and Lands Committee report dated October 16th, 2023. The committee reviewed and considered T97-2023. The committee made a motion to send T97-2023 back to the city council for consideration.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Winkle.
This is regarding T97. We had the open meeting about at 6:30. I'd like to move to accept this report.
Second?
The motion was made by Winkle and seconded by Awig to accept the Building and Lands Committee report. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. There is no correspondence or old business on tonight's agenda, which brings us to new business. I believe we have an appointment to the Board of Drainage and Flood Control, and I believe it's a Ward 2 appointment. Mr. Toth?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank Mr. Michael Burrow for his service to the city of North Ridgeville on the Board of Drainage and Flood Control. Due to Mr. Burrow's recent resignation, I would like to appoint Mr. Ellis Stevens to the vacant Ward 2 representative seat on the Board of Drainage and Flood Control. Mr. Stevens and his wife have resided on Ridgeville Boulevard for the past 21 years and are real estate agents working out of the Russell Real Estate Services office on Center Ridge Road. Mr. Stevens reached out to me shortly after my appointment to City Council, expressing a desire to volunteer and help Ward 2 and the city of North Ridgeville grow into a vibrant and thriving city. I would like to make a motion to appoint Mr. Ellis Stevens to the Board of Drainage and Flood Control.
Second?
The motion was made by Toth and seconded by DeVries to appoint Ellis Stevens as Board of Drainage and Flood Control Ward 2 representative to an unexpired term ending December 31st, 2023. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Stevens, and thank you for your willingness to serve. That'll bring us to recess.
Mr. President, move to dispense with recess.
Second?
It was moved by Winkle and seconded by Awig to dispense with recess this evening. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Recess has been dispensed. We'll move right along to first readings. Up first, we have T-115.
T-115-2023, an ordinance amending the number system for the City of North Ridgeville legislation starting in the year 2024.
T-115 will be referred to the Administrative Committee for further discussion. T-116.
T-116-2023, an ordinance imposing a moratorium on the granting of permits and our acceptance of planning commission applications for truck terminals as listed in section 1268.02, permitted and conditional uses of the North Ridgeville codified ordinances for a period not to exceed 180 days from the effective date of this ordinance, in order to allow the planning commission and council to consider possible changes to use regulations in the B3 Highway Commercial District.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
move to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second?
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Abens to dispense with the second and third readings for T-116. Are there any comments or questions?
Mr. President, the city has quite a few properties that are zoned B3, and it's come to our attention that having truck terminals in those locations might not be the best use of that property, especially since many of those properties are located on Center Ridge Road. So what we'd like to do is put a moratorium in place to put a pause on any conditional use approvals of truck terminals in B3, and take a look at that B3 zoning and make some changes. So we're asking for a 6-month timeframe to get that done.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are there any additional comments or questions? So again, it was moved by the mayor and seconded by Abens to dispense with the second and third readings for T116. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no.
Mr. President, move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, move to add the emergency clause so that way we may take care of this immediately.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Abens to add the emergency clause to T116 for the reasons stated by the mayor. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by the mayor and seconded by Abens to adopt T116 with the emergency clause in place. At this time, are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swink,
Yes.
Toth,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries and becomes ordinance number 6108-2023.
T117.
T117-2023, an ordinance amending ordinance 5961-2022 with authorize the mayor to enter into a contract with a consulting engineering firm for additional design services for the Mills Creek Conservation and Flood Control Project by increasing the prior approved amount of $420,000 to $507,500.
Mr. President, move to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Awig to dispense with the second and third readings for T117. Are there any comments or questions?
Mr. President, we've already heard from the city engineer as to the reasons why that we're asking for this to be passed, and with the emergency clause as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are there any additional comments or questions? It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Awig to dispense with the second and third readings for T117. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries.
Mr. President, move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, move to add the emergency clause as stated, for the reasons stated by the city engineer.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Awig to add the emergency clause to T117 for the reasons stated earlier during the engineer's report. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by the mayor and seconded by Awig to adopt T117 with the emergency clause. At this time, are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swink,
Yes.
Toth,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously and becomes ordinance number 6109-2023.
T118.
T118-2023, an ordinance amending ordinance number 6104-2023, which authorized the mayor of the city of North Ridgeville to enter into contracts with 6 individual property owners whose properties surround the intersection of Avon Belden Road and Chestnut Ridge Road for the purchase of permanent and temporary right-of-way for the roundabout improvement, plus any additional costs associated with the execution of these contracts.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
move to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by DeVries to dispense with the second and third readings for T118. Are there any comments or questions?
Mr. President, there was an amendment to one of the purchase prices. That it was a $1,300 increase in the cost of the purchase of that property, and that's why we're asking for the amendment. As you know, we did have a deadline by ODOT that has passed last month, the middle of last month. So we're just trying to get these properties under our control and ownership And so we're asking for the emergency clause for this, so we can move forward with this contract.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are there any additional comments or questions?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Ravens.
just a quick question, I hope. Do we have all, do we have all the properties in that area under control at this point?
We do not. We have one property that is in the hands of two individuals who have passed away. And so if you notice today in the Chronicle Telegram, we had a legal notice go out. We have to put a public notice out there for that property. We have found a grandson, but there are multiple family members involved. And so the easiest way for us to get in touch with each and every one of them is through the legal notice that was just published. We'll be doing that over the next couple of weeks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any additional comments or questions? So again, it was moved by the mayor and seconded by DeVries to dispense with the second and third readings for T-118. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no.
Mr. President, move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, move to add the emergency clause for the reasons stated.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by DeVries to add the emergency clause to T-118 for the reasons stated by the mayor. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by the mayor and seconded by DeVries to adopt T-118 with the emergency clause in place. Are there any comments or questions at this time? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swink,
Yes.
Toth,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously and becomes ordinance number 6110-2023.
T-119.
T-119-2023, a resolution to proceed with the election on the question of a renewal tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for current expenses of the Lorraine Public Library System, including the operation of a branch library located in the city of North Ridgeville.
I will make a motion at this time to amend T-119 with the version that appears in front of you at your desks this evening, which added calculations from the county auditor.
Second.
It was moved by Jacobs and seconded by Winkle to amend T-119 with those calculations from the county auditor added. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously and will be amended accordingly.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
move to dispense with the second and third readings of the amended 119.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Awig to dispense with the second and third readings for T-119 amended. Are there any comments or questions?
Mr. President, as you're aware, we've discussed this previously with a previous piece of legislation. The information went to the county auditor, has come back to us now. This is the second part of that process. The presidential election moves the primary up to March, so the deadline for submissions is December 6th. And in order to give the auditor more time to get their work done before that date, the idea is to pass both T-119 and T-123, the city's ambulance renewal, tonight to give them that additional time. In case there is any hiccups, we'd like another shot or two to correct those before that deadline comes up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are there any additional questions or comments? Again, it was moved by the mayor and seconded by Awig to dispense with the second and third readings for T-119. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries.
Mr. President, move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, move to add the emergency clause for the reasons stated.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Awig to add the emergency clause to T-111 for the reasons stated by the mayor in order to meet the county's deadline. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes. Yes. All opposed say no. It was then moved by the mayor and seconded by Awig to adopt T-119 with the emergency clause in place. At this time, are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swink,
Yes.
Toth,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0 and becomes resolution number 1617-2023.
T120.
T120-2023, a resolution authorizing fund transfers.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. DeVries.
motion to dispense with the second and third reading?
Second.
It was moved by DeVries and seconded by Awig to dispense with the second and third readings for T120. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. DeVries.
motion to adopt?
Second.
Mr. President, motion to add the emergency clause so that the funds can be returned to us by the state. We can get it processed in a timely manner.
Second.
It was moved by DeVries and seconded by Awig to add the emergency clause to T120 for the reasons stated by Mr. DeVries. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by DeVries and seconded by Awig to adopt T120 with the emergency clause in place. At this time, are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swank,
Yes.
Toth,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries and becomes resolution number 1618-2023.
T121.
T121-2023, a resolution authorizing the execution of then and now certificates by the city fiscal officer and the payment of amounts due for various purchase orders.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. DeVries.
motion to dispense with the second and third readings?
Second.
It was moved by DeVries and seconded by Abens to dispense with the second and third readings for T121. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
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 All opposed say no.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. DeVries.
motion to adopt?
Second.
Mr. President, motion to add the emergency clause for the reasons stated by the Director of Finance.
Second.
It was moved by DeVries and seconded by Abens to add the emergency clause to T121 for the reasons stated earlier by the Director of Finance. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by DeVries and seconded by Abens to adopt T121 with the emergency clause in place. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swank,
Yes.
Toth,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries and becomes resolution number 1619-2023.
T122.
T122-2023, an ordinance amending the ordinance number 6031-2022 of the city of North Ridgeville, Ohio, providing appropriations for the period commencing January 1st, 2023 and ending December 31st, 2023.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. DeVries.
motion to dispense with the second and third reading?
Second.
It was moved by DeVries and seconded by Abens to dispense with the second and third readings for T122. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. DeVries.
motion to adopt?
Second.
Mr. President, motion to add the emergency clause so that we can provide each department with the necessary funding as appropriated during the budget process.
Second.
It was moved by DeVries and seconded by Abens to add the emergency clause to T122 for the reasons just stated by Mr. DeVries. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by DeVries and seconded by Abens to adopt T122 with the emergency clause in place. Are there any comments at this time? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swank,
Yes.
Toth,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries and becomes ordinance number 6111-2023.
T123.
T123-2023, a resolution submitting to the electors of the city of North Ridgeville the question of renewing an existing 2.25 mil tax levy for 5 years for the purpose of providing for ambulance service and emergency medical care and to maintain a paramedic program and to equip and to operate the same for that purpose pursuant to sections 5705.19U and 57.05.191 of the revised code.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
move to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Winkle to dispense with the second and third readings for T-123. Are there any comments or questions at this time?
Mr. President, as mentioned earlier, this is another resolution that would be applicable to the March primary next year. This is our ambulance levy, and there was a hiccup earlier today with some information from the Lorraine County Auditor that held up bringing this forward. But we now have what we need, and we're looking to get this passed with the emergency so we can follow the same path as we did with the library just a few minutes ago.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are there any additional comments, questions? Again, it was moved by the mayor and seconded by Winkle to dispense with the second and third readings for T-123. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no.
Mr. President, move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, I have a lengthy emergency clause requested by our outside attorney that I'm going to read to you.
Okay.
This resolution is declared to be an emergency measure necessary for the immediate preservation of the public health, safety, and welfare of the city, and for the further reason that this resolution must be effective immediately so that it can be timely filed with the county auditor and additional proceedings taken in order to submit the question of the levy to the electors at an election on March 19th, 2024. Wherefore, this resolution shall be in full force and effect immediately upon its adoption and approval by the mayor. Which is basically what I said, except it's shorter.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Winkle. It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Winkle to add the emergency clause to T-127 for the reasons stated by the mayor. I can't repeat those. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
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 All opposed say no. It was then moved by the mayor and seconded by Winkle to adopt T-123 with the emergency clause in place. At this time, are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swank,
Yes.
Toth,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries and becomes resolution number 1620-2023.
That'll bring us to second readings. Up first, we have T-111.
T-111-2023 amended a resolution amending resolution number 1568-2022, which amended a previously approved and ratified application for tax incentive in community reinvestment area number 14 for Young Explorers Montessori.
As we discussed at our last meeting and as was mentioned during our lobby session earlier tonight, a tax incentive was approved for Young Explorers Montessori back in 2019. The owner of the property is selling the business to a new owner, and the tax incentive paperwork essentially needs to be updated with the name of that new owner. So with that, I will make a motion to dispense with the third reading for T-111.
Second.
It was moved by Jacobs and seconded by Swank to dispense with a third reading for T-111. Are there any comments or questions at this time? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. I will then make a motion to adopt T-111,
Second.
and I'll add a motion to add the emergency clause to T-111 in order to allow the owner of the business to move forward with the sale.
Second.
It was moved by Jacobs and seconded by Swank to add the emergency clause to T-111 in order to allow the owner of the business to move forward with that sale. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by Jacobs and seconded by Swank to adopt T-111 with the emergency clause in place. Are there any final comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swank,
Yes.
Toth,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0 and becomes resolution number 1621-2023.
T-113.
T-113-2023, an ordinance amending ordinance number 6044-2023, which authorized the mayor to advertise for bids and enter in contract according to law and in a manner prescribed by law with the lowest and best bidder for the construction of a sludge processing storage building for the French Creek wastewater treatment plant by increasing the amount from $900,000 to $1.3 million.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
move to dispense with the third reading.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Winkle to dispense with the third reading for T-113. Are there any comments or questions?
Mr. President, if you remember, we went out to bid for this project not too long ago, and those bids came in well in excess of the 900,000, which is why we're increasing the amount and asking to try this process again. This building we have discussed multiple times over the years. It's part of the processing of our sludge, and it will not only benefit the efficiency of the plant, but will also reduce the costs of disposing of that sludge. One of the challenges that we have right now is the liquidity of the sludge, and the higher water content that the sludge has, the more expensive it is to get rid of it. So this storage building will help reduce those costs.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are there any additional comments or questions?
That was really challenging to say that in such a nice way when we're talking about storing a sludge.
Liquidity of sludge. All right.
Watery sludge.
All right, hearing no additional comments or questions, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no.
Mr. President, move to adopt.
Yes.
Second.
Mr. President, move to add the emergency clause so that we can get this bid and start saving some money with this building.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Winkle to add the emergency clause to T-113 for the reasons stated by the mayor. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by the mayor and seconded by Winkle to adopt T-113 with the emergency clause in place. At this time, are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swank,
Yes.
Toth,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries and becomes ordinance number 6112-2023.
That brings us to third readings. We have one on tonight's agenda, T-101.
T-101-2023, an ordinance amending NRCO Chapter 264 Civil Service Commission.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mrs. Swing.
move to adopt.
Second.
It was moved by Swank and seconded by Winkle to adopt T-101. Are there any comments or questions?
Mr. President, this is to add lateral transfers into the fire department. We have used that now in the police department several different times. It's great news to tell you that it won't be necessary in the near future with the fire department, as we do have a full complement of firefighters in that department. And we also have the same in the police department with the swearing in of a officer just last week. So it's necessary for the future, but not the near future.
So no emergency.
So no need for emergency tonight.
Correct.
Are there any additional comments or questions? Again, the motion was made by Swank and seconded by Winkle to adopt T-101. Clerk, please call the roll.
Swank,
Yes.
Toth,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries and becomes ordinance number 6113-2023.
The next regular council meeting will be held on Monday, November 20th, 2023 at 7 PM in council chambers. Finance, what happened to our screen? Finance Committee budget meetings will be held on Thursday, November 14th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m., Wednesday, November 15th, 2023 at 9 a.m., and Thursday, November 16th, 2023, also at 9 a.m. here in council chambers. The purpose of these finance committee meetings is to discuss the 2024 budget. Do any members of council have any final comments this evening?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mrs. Swink?
I just wanted to let everybody know the finance committee meetings are open to the public.
Thank you, Mrs. Swink.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr.
I'd like to
Toth.
encourage everyone to vote tomorrow. Get out and exercise your constitutional right.
Thank you, Mr. Toth. And I was going to close with the same reminder. Please get out and exercise your right to vote. As a reminder, polls are open from 6:30 a.m. until 7:30 p.m. tomorrow. With that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.